Morning, that breaking news in the United States, where the trade war between the world's two superpowers has escalated. US President Donald Trump this morning raising tariffs on China to 125%, while announcing a pause on all other nations.
The Commander-in-Chief has just spoken from the White House, giving this explanation.
They're all calling, how do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate. Because I told them, if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate.
It all comes as China reaches out to Australia, asking us to join hands.
We have team coverage for you. Let's go first to Nine's US correspondent Lauren Tomasi at the White House. Lauren, so what does this all mean?
First of all, Sarah, it's a really big backflip on policy. Just days ago, Donald Trump said he wouldn't be budging. Today, he says you've got to be flexible as he put in place this 90-day pause of reciprocal tariffs for everyone but China. It is there that the US president has made this really large escalation today, 125% tariffs on China. And if you're just waking up now, that is because overnight China issued a retaliation against the United States for yesterday's escalation, with Beijing putting in place 84% tariffs. So this really is becoming tit for tat between the world's big superpowers. All of this has been announced by Donald Trump on social media, a place where he likes to make these kind of announcements. He says this came down to a lack of respect from China. But here at the White House, his advisors say this was the US president's plan all along.
This was his strategy all along, and that you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors, and we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate.
So you've got that aggressive move against China, the 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs, and after that those tariffs will drop down to 10%. That is where Australia was already sitting, so there's no such change for us. But who is finding a bit of certainty amid the uncertainty is the markets. They made this dramatic bounce on Wall Street as the markets and the news was being heard from Donald Trump on social media. We know the president at the back of the White House here just moments ago with a race car, chatting away on tariffs. He seems very unbothered by everything that's going on.
That is for sure. Well, let's bring in today Federal Politics reporter Liz Daniels for all the fallout back home. Liz, China wants to join forces with Australia in a bid to boost trade.
A strange world we are living in, Carl. China asking Australia to join hands in the face of this uncertainty. The ambassador to Australia saying Beijing and Canberra should jointly defend global free trade. In a statement given to our colleagues at the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, it also blasted the US president for, quote, sabotaging international law, an extraordinary about-face from the communist regime, which has only recently lifted its own extraordinary tariffs on Australia, an 80% import tax on our barley, 212% it had on our wine. The statement an indication of China's willingness and readiness to take full advantage of global tensions with the US, all as Australians prepare to go to the polls to decide which leader is better placed to deal with President Trump and President Xi.
It's an interesting balance, isn't it? Good on you, Liz. Thank you.
A damning report into the SeaWorld chopper tragedy has laid bare the catastrophic failures which led to that deadly crash 2 years ago. Live to Today Queensland reporter Andrea Crothers on the Gold Coast. Andrea, there are finally answers.
Yeah, Jane, it's taken 2 years to determine what went so disastrously wrong, killing 4 people: pilot Ashley Jenkinson, Sydney mother Vanessa Tadros, and British newlyweds Diane and Ned Hughes. 9 others were injured when those 2 choppers collided mid-air here above the Gold Coast in January 2023. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau made 28 findings, blaming compounding factors, including that there was a deadly conflict zone where choppers took off and landed crossing paths, a faulty radio antenna, pilot Ash Jenkinson's last call was never heard, that the view from the cockpit was obstructed, and that passengers were incorrectly restrained with seat belts. So now, at last some answers. This investigation is closed. Next up is a coronial inquest. But SeaWorld Helicopters is also facing another legal fight. Victims, their families, seeking up to $100 million each. Jane.
Andrea, thank you. Doctors will walk off the job for a third and final day in New South Wales today. 3,000 doctors took part in the industrial action yesterday. The state's hospitals still performing above the national benchmark. Almost 250 elective surgeries were cancelled though, and 1,000 outpatient clinic appointments were postponed. There are calls for CCTV cameras to be installed on all trams in Melbourne after a surge in the number of assaults on passengers. Live to Today Melbourne reporter Christine Ahern. Christine, how many trams have CCTV?
Jane, it appears these days there's CCTV everywhere except on our tram network. So there's 480 trams on our city network. 300 of them don't have CCTV. And that's a real problem when there's been a rise in the number of assaults on our trams and also at our tram stations. So the latest crime statistics show that last year there was 245 assaults. Now, compare that to the year before where there was 171 assaults on our trams and tram stations. So that is a spike of 43%. And victims of these assaults say they feel powerless because there's not much proof, there's not much to go on to identify an attacker, and then when they do take it to court, if they do identify an offender, there's just not much proof. Compare this to our train network here in Melbourne, and there is CCTV on every train station and every train carriage. Jane.
Christine, thank you. Damning new statistics have laid bare Australia's youth crime capital as Queensland. Thousands of young offenders are being sentenced in the state more than anywhere else in the country, with 7,770 children aged between 10 and 17 last year alone. That's almost 2,000 more than New South Wales and 3,000 more than WA. With just 23 days until the election, the promises are coming thick and fast. Anthony Albanese today promising millions in funding for the Great Barrier Reef. Nine's federal politics reporter Amanda Kopp has the latest from Cairns.
This morning we're in Cairns, where the Prime Minister is preparing to announce a new rebate to encourage schools to travel to the Great Barrier Reef. $6 million to help the tourism industry here in the Sunshine State. It's part of a concerted attack by the Labor Party to try and win back this marginal seat, the marginal seat of Leichhardt. That's currently held by Warren Entsch, who has held it for the last decade. The only time the Liberal Party has held this seat is when Warren Entsch has been the local member. His departure seen by the Labor Party as an opportunity to try and win it back.
A group of men are on the run this morning accused of damaging more than 90 cars in Perth's western suburbs. Police say their spree lasted several hours, starting just after midnight yesterday morning. Residents left to clean up the mess.
I can't understand how they can move across so many suburbs in one evening and do so much damage to so many cars.
This was wanton damage without rhyme or reason. Callous, total disregard for the property of others, and individuals like these are not welcome in our community.
Police say at least 3 of the men responsible are aged between 18 and 25.